So today's speaker is Sue Whittaker. Sue has worked for insightsoftware.com for almost 6 years as a product specialist and assists customers in getting maximum benefit out of Insight Unlimited, helping the sales team with conducting evaluations and workshops around Europe. So Sue, without further ado, over to you.
Okay, thanks Amy. Hello everybody and welcome to the webinar to show you what's new in 2013.1. This is an agenda of what we're going to cover. So I'm going to show you some of what I think are the key bits of new functionality for Insight Unlimited. I haven't included everything because there's a lot that's gone into 2013.1, but I will show you how you can get access to a list of all the new features and functionality a bit later on. Then I'm going to show you what's quite exciting. We've got a new module for Insight Unlimited, which is inventory, and we've also got some new templates as well. But before we go into this agenda, I'm going to hand you back to Amy very quickly, as she wants to ask you all a question.
Thanks, Sue. So a quick polling question should be appearing on your screen now. So the question is, when are you planning to upgrade to 2013.1? Options are 1 to 3 months, 4 to 6 months, 7 to 12 months, or no plans. So if you just click the option that applies to you, that would be fantastic. And this might change actually after the webinar, mightn't it? So
well, we hope so.
More responses. Okay, closing that now. Thanks everyone.
Okay, thanks Amy. So this is just to give you an idea of what I'm going to cover from the functionality side of things. So the first thing I'm going to look at, I think, is one of our biggest new bits of functionality, which is comment columns. Then we're going to talk about executive grade reporting, which is exporting out to Word, as well as being able to export to Excel and PDF, and also some enhanced formatting capabilities, a lot more sophisticated. Then we're going to talk about file bursting, or also known as report bursting and scheduler, aging start date filters, which is quite a neat little function for which will benefit the console users, a few enhancements in DX, and then also the community portal to show you how to get a full list of everything that's new in 2013.1. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the comment columns. So if I flick over to the product, okay, so on the screen you'll see I've got an accounts receivable report, and it's by your customer, transaction number, transaction dates and due dates, and some of this functionality you'll have seen already, which is the day between calculations to calculate how overdue these customers are with paying their invoices. And I'm only looking at the outstanding invoices as well. But what we've now got on here is we've got 2 comment columns. We've got one for the customer and one for the customer and invoice. Now the reason why these are different is that, can you see here, I'm just highlighting this square. This particular invoice, we've put a note on against the customer and the invoice to say it's answered all the disputes and should now be paid. Once that invoice has been paid and that will get removed from this inquiry or report, that comment will no longer be displayed because it's got an association with the invoice number and the customer, whereas the customer comment will always stay if you've got the customer on the report. So to add a new comment, you double click the column. So we can then type on to say this invoice here that they promise to settle the whole account by the 1st of Feb. Oh look, no typing errors. Once you put in your comment, you then save the comment away, and then we just finish that off. And then that's saved. Every time you open this report, provided it's got this combination, and if I just right click on here, you can see those associated fields. So you can see that I'm doing this comment column association of the customer number and the transaction number. All comment columns can be edited by console users as well, so it gives them that extra end user experience. And other uses that you could have for comments are, against your P&L variances, maybe even against projects to comment on why you might be over budget, or against expenditure types and categories. And basically anywhere within Insight, a comment column can now be added to a report. And that really removes the need, for having to put things into Excel and then add the comments on retrospectively. So the benefit to having the comment columns is that you now get to add the why to the what. So before you were just looking at what the data was, but now you can actually add those comments on to say why the data is as it is. The next thing I want to talk about is the executive grade reporting. So go back to the product. I'll go to a different report. So this is a GL report that's been set up to have a look at your revenues across 4 quarters with a total for the year and a chart as well. Now in the past you could only ever export out to PDF and to Excel, whereas now we have the ability to export out to Word, which is great for month end, for bought packs and for your statutory reporting. So if I click on Export to Word, it puts it into Word, and this is actually using your what we call style sheets. So you get to specify the headers, the logos, the free text that you can type over, and then once you've made all your changes to those fields that you can type over, it will end up looking like this. So if I put it into print preview, you can now see that that's how you would see it in Word. And this is done by using this option here to say export using a style sheet. So you can set up your own specific style sheets for your organisation in the format that you want. So it's a lot of enhanced functionality. Okay. As well as that, we've got improved formatting, well, it's just tenfold, but I'll show you a couple of good examples. Now, and this has been requested by a couple of customers, and a couple of customers that I know are on this webinar today. So we can now format the column header. So we can say, right, we want this column header to be green. Don't forget you've got this palette that you can choose all the extra colours from. And you can change the font as well. So if you've got a company regulation that you have to have things in a certain font, you can change that. So you can now see that you've got the column header in green and the font has changed. You can also edit the title. So a lot of people were always asking us, we want to be able to see when we've run the report without having to have the cover page when you export. We want to see the run date on the title itself. So we now have the capability to add that run date in and not having to rely on date filters. We can also put on hyperlinks. So if you want to guide people to extra places of information onto intranets, then you can put on the hyperlink onto any of these reports. And of course that's available from within Insight to then go and click on the hyperlink and then go across to get more information depending on what type of report you're actually looking at. So this gives you a much better improved end user experience by having that extra formatting capabilities that you used to have to do outside of Insight. You can now do all of that in Insight Unlimited, as well as now having that export to Word function. The next thing is file bursting, also known as report bursting. Now, just a bit of background to this first. In the past, if you wanted to have the same report run for, say, different cost centres, departments or companies, and then you wanted to export these into separate files, you would typically have to have a report pack that contains a report for each of the different variables on those segments, just so that you could export that out to individual files. So I've got an example to show you from the report pack. So this is how it used to be. You've got your variable and your filter. You've got your next report, then the report pack with a different variable, and then you'd export out to Excel, and you'd choose this option to export all but to multiple workbooks, and then you'd end up with the 3. If I hover down here, you should see that you've got the 3 different spreadsheets. So I'll just close all them. Now you can put all your variables into the filter itself. So this is the same report, but now in the filter I've put all 3 variables that I had in my report pack. I've subtotaled by each of those variables, so if I drill down now, and so now when I export out to Excel, it will automatically provide me 3 separate files. So this reduces the need for you to have, numerous different reports, for the same thing but for just different filter values, so that you can export into different files. You can have everything now in the one place. And the way we've done that is in the Excel options, you have the option to specify what you're going to break by. Do you want to break into individual worksheets or into individual spreadsheets? and then you can dynamically name each of those spreadsheets. So you put in the variable of the segment plus the report name on there, and then that's saved into the report, and then all you need to change on a daily basis or monthly basis is your period or your date range, for example. Now, one of the other things that's an enhancement is from the scheduler side of things, where everybody's been asking, can you schedule report packs and send those out? And so the answer is now you can schedule report packs, but I think with the report bursting, you probably actually won't need to use that function anymore because you have this ability to export out into multiple workbooks. So I think this bit of functionality actually really is going to save time. I know there's a couple of customers on the call today who have got massive report packs with like 50 reports in, exporting those out to multiple workbooks. So this is going to make them be able to reduce it to one single report with all of those variables in the filter, and it's going to reduce those report volumes and just save them so much time. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is aging start date filters. So in the past, if a reporting user shared a report with a console user that's got aging categories on, the console user always had to rely on the reporting user to change that starting date of those aging categories. So it wasn't very dynamic for the console user. Whereas now you can put a filter onto an inquiry report so the console user can now change this starting date and make it a lot more dynamic for them. So I'm going to flick over to the console. Okay. And here on the screen we've got a departmental purchase order report. So this has been summarised by department with 5 aging categories going across the screen and a total of all those purchase orders that have been entered into the system for that department. And here you can see this is where you've got the aging category start date. So if I change this start date using the calendar function, go across to, say, July, you can now see the dynamic filters change because we've included that aging category start date as one of the filters on the title, and each of the columns has changed as well. So we're now starting from the 3rd of July. The totals also change depending on what you've changed on the aging filter. Okay, so this now makes those aging categories a lot more dynamic and user-friendly for the console user. So we've now got dynamic aging for all. So I think a lot of those reports that you've got things that are looking at, weekly forecasts, forecasting the spend, forecasting your income. Again, the purchase order report, they can now be a lot more dynamic across the different business functions, but for the console users. Okay, so next, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of key enhancements for Designer Express, and then also just show you what's new for Community Portal and also how to get to all that extra information that's in the Community Portal about what's new in 2013.1. So the Designer Express enhancements. First one is about date effective joins. So this type of join will be very useful in porting over, say, HR data, for example, because every time you update an employee record, it creates a new row. And so depending on what type of information you want to report on, this new enhancement will allow you to do that by returning data from Table 2 relative to the date in Table 1. So this will make this give you a lot more benefit. The second one is displaying the current record only. And again, this would also be very useful over HR data, as you might only want to report on the latest position of an employee from the employee assignments, rather than returning all of the rows that might have the assignment changes or the supervisor changes. So you just want to show the last record for the supervisor or for the employee assignment. And then the final enhancement for Designer Express, and this is more for the designers, is that the table keys are identified. So the primary and the foreign keys are now identified in the description field in the table mapping screen when you're in DX. And this will make it a lot easier and faster for table joining. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is Community Portal. Now, Community Portal in the past has only ever been available either in the reporting user or the console user, but it's now available from the administration tool as well. So if we go across to the administration tool, sorry for all the flicking across the screens. Okay, so you can now see that I'm in the admin tool. I've logged into the community portal. Now if we click on content, and then we type into the search filter, just type in new, and you can all do this from your current versions of Insight Unlimited. You can then get a full list of everything that's new for 2013.1. So all the fixes, all the enhancement requests, the new templates, the new modules. So this will give you a full listing. So I do encourage you all to go through that and have a look. We have also, though, sent you all out individual emails that does specify things that you've requested that have now gone into 2013.1. And then if you want to have a look how to use the new functionality that's gone into 2013.1, if you use the Knowledge tab and say type in a search for comment column, and then just search everything under the Knowledge Centre, it'll bring up a list of all these different articles to say, right, how do I enter the comments, how do I add or delete them, what are they, so you can learn about them. And again, this is really useful for self-training and having a look at all those new bits of functionality and how do you use them. As well as, I think there'll also be blogs in there as to why people would use them as well. So this really gives you a completely improved knowledge centre. There's a lot more really good how-to documents. There's videos in the community portal that you can watch, so you can visually see how and remind yourself how to do certain things within Insight Unlimited. And DX, you'll have a much improved experience as well by having those new enhancements in there. So from a functionality perspective, pretty much, I think overall you can see that the end user experience has been improved hugely with the formatting, the why to the what, and I think the time savings and reduction of report volumes is going to be quite key for anyone using 2013.1. Okay, and as per the agenda, after the key things that I thought were most interesting and important in 2013.1, are the new smart set, which is new for inventory. So we're going out of the financial arena and going into inventory. And we've also got some new templates in existing smart sets. So again, if I flick back to the product, but I'm going to go back to the reporting user, and you'll see that for inventory, we've got 7 new out-of-the-box templates. And this is going to give you a full view of all the inventory details for all items, values and transactions in relation to stock, whether you've bought it in or manufactured within the organisation. So you can review material, resources, overheads, burdened and unburdened costs and the cost summary templates. You've got access to either the actual cost history or the standard cost history. You can view your on-hand quantity, which will have your extended costs automatically calculated. Or you can even view the inventory values on the same screen as GL balances for easier reconciliations. So I'll show you one example from the inventory smart set. So if we open up the on-hand quantity template, we can put in an org ID and run this. And this will give us a listing of all the items for that org, the units of measure, several different quantity columns in here. So if any quantities have been reserved, available to reserve, the total transaction quantity, and there you can see we've got the extended cost column, which is automatically calculated for you. And you can scroll down and I can see for this particular org I only have 1 that's been reserved. But also another bit of new functionality as well, because this field here, the organisation, this is an ID field, but you now have the ability to be able to show the description in the filter rather than just the org ID. So that's another bit of new functionality. Just point out some of the other new templates, which I know will be relevant for a lot of the audience on this webinar today. In projects, we've got 4 new templates in here that will let you look at your program master information, projects master. You can now look at multiple budget versions, You can also have a look at resources, unbilled revenue amounts, and that's also in the budget comparisons template as well. So that should really round out the requirements for projects and give you a real full picture of all your project information. General Ledger, there are 2 new R12 templates, inline templates. What these do, these will allow you to retrieve all transactions across all sources, which has been a request from quite a lot of you that are on the webinar. And it just puts them into a much easier to read format. You don't have to go through the transaction summary template. You just can go straight down to the transactions AP plus R12, and this will give you everything. And the other one, new inline template, will just give you the AP transactions, but from the GL side. Okay, so that shows you the new smart set for inventory. Highlighted a couple of the new templates that I think will be of real use to the customers that are on the webinar. Okay, so I'm going to hand back to Amy. She's got a second question that she wants to ask you.
Lovely, thanks, Sue. So we've been running complimentary customer-focused workshops in the London office over the last 6 months or so. And we've had really, really positive feedback from our customers that have attended. It's a great opportunity for customers to get their hands on our technology and really play around with it. And of course to speak with other customers and find out how they're using our technology. So we want to continue that in 2014. We want to find out which topics you want to hear more about. So the options here are procure to pay, project specific, the sub-ledger accounting layer that comes with R12, Designer Express, or the advanced training sessions. So a couple more seconds to fill in your responses. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. Got that.
Thank you.
Okay, I can't remember if I said how long the webinar was going to be at the beginning, but it was only between 20 and 30 minutes, so we wanted to allow time for questions to come in as well, based on what you've seen, also what you've heard when talking to myself and Tammy. So if any of you have got any questions, if you'd like to type them into the question panel, and we'll endeavour to answer those questions now for you.
Yes, so actually we've already come in during the webinar actually. So first question is, how long will an upgrade take?
Okay, so the upgrade will take less time than when you originally installed. Leon on our customer services desk would get in touch with you and would install and be installed within 1 to 2 hours. And we'd take a backup of your existing repository and import that or create a new repository for 2013.1. So it'll take you with about 1 to 2 hours to upgrade.
Okay, great. We have a question that's come in. Will my old report still work?
Yes, your old reports will still work because you will take a backup of the old reports. You'll be able to import them into the new repository for 2013.1. So yes, all your old reports will still work.
Okay, next question. Where are the comments stored?
Okay, that's a really good question. So the comments themselves are stored against that report definition file, so that particular report or inquiry. And it's stored dynamically against the combination of the fields that you've actually associated them with. Once those combinations of fields disappear, the comments disappear, but it's only for that report or inquiry.
Okay, lovely. And so all the new functionality and features that you've shown that come with 2013.1, are they available on 11i and R12?
Okay, so all the new functionality that I showed at the beginning of the webinar, all of that will work on both 11 and R12. I suppose one of the key things that I forgot to mention is that the inventory smart set is for R12 only.
Okay, lovely. Okay, next question that's come through. Can you give us an idea of how customers are using DX?
Okay, it's another good question. We've got a couple of customers, one customer's using DX to get access to their plant hire information. Another one who has several custom tables, so they want to join the custom tables to the core tables in Oracle. And we have a couple of customers that are currently going through an exercise writing DX reports over their HR data.
Okay, next question was coming, Sue. Are the Excel options held on an individual's report or apply to all reports?
Yeah, the Excel option, that is per report. Yes. Per report, per user.
Per report, per user.
Actually, no, I lie. Per report. Sorry, per report, yeah.
Next question, can DX be used to access non-Oracle data sources?
Okay, that's a really, really good question. And we have one customer who has achieved that, and they've created a view with a database link that's contained in the same Insight schema, and that allows them to bring in external data outside of Oracle.
Yeah. Right, okay, great.
So it is possible,
yeah,
yes.
Lovely. Next question, when exporting to Word, can you create a full document or is it only per page export?
I'm not sure I fully understand the whole question. Can you read it again?
Yeah, of course I can. So when exporting to Word, can you create a full document or is it only per page export?
I think, if I've understood this correctly, and I might not have, so do type back in if I haven't, I think depending on how you set up your style sheet, you could make it into a full document, and then, because you then specify where your data table is going to be going into that style sheet and your chart, for example. So you could import that into a full document. So it would depend on how you created your style sheets, I think.
Right, okay. Thank you very much for everyone that has attended the webinar today. Hope you found it useful. And of course, thank you to our speaker, Miss Sue Whittaker. So thank you very much, everyone, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye.